What's up everybody, this is Ven bringing you another M.O.C Spotlight where we take apart what you build. For today's episode we'll be taking a look at Toa Corion, created and posted to our message boards by Zalgo79. Now before we get started, let me remind you of my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the M.O.C, the build of the M.O.C itself, and the concept and ideas behind the M.O.C's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode. And please remember that this is all based on my opinion. So let's get this started. Now I can't tell if this thing is inherently small with bulky proportions or if it's inherently bulky with small proportions. Either way, I couldn't help but notice that he's bulky and small. And at first glance, it looks okay. It's got a fairly consistent color scheme with the dark red everywhere being the primary color, little bits of brighter red here and there, and then gunmetal serving as the second most prominent color, taking up areas such as the shins and the shoulder armor, which I gotta say is looking a little bunched up here. I do like how the shoulder plates look, however I think they're way too close to the head, and it kinda makes the Toa look like he's suffocating. It's making me claustrophobic just looking at it. That said, the easy solution would have been just to spread the shoulder armor further apart. Not only would it solve that issue, but it would also look better proportionally. I also couldn't help but notice that the upper arms kind of bend out at an awkward angle, and it kind of makes it look like this guy's shoulders are a lot lower than they really are. Now I do really like that this M.O.C's got a lot of detail going for it. It seems pretty stylistic in a way to have all these ridges and greebles. Probably could have done without the light gray and silver parts here and there. I do think that these would have looked better if they stuck with the color scheme. Except for the axe. The axe can stay the way it is. I really like how this axe looks. This is a really cool design. Though I do wish the M.O.C had something else that really stuck out more. Something that gave me a sense of character, because the axe is the only thing we got here. Take away the axe and he kind of looks like a very generic red robot dude. And this isn't supposed to be that. He's supposed to be a Toa of Fire. A Toa of Fire with a big axe and some shoulder armor that's about as big as that axe. Meanwhile, the build looks pretty sturdy. Kind of reminds me of my old building style, way before CCBS came into the picture. Even though there is CCBS here, just seeing all the bionicle and Technic elements used here just really brings it back for me. And it also looks to have a standard range of posability, having some articulation where you would expect a bionicle figure to have. Heads, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees and toes, well, maybe not toes, but he's got fingers. However, I did notice that since the shoulders were designed the way they were, they seem to kind of obstruct movement in both the upper arms and the head. And I know that can't be good for exercise, right, Richard? Then the fingers seem a little bit fragile, but that's also a little bit nitpicky. And then there is no function with this build, no gears or nothing, which I'm only making note of because this is supposed to be a Toa. And okay, yeah, I know not every Toa had a function built in or anything like that, but if they didn't, they at least had some kind of launcher, some sort of play feature thrown in there. And meanwhile, this guy, he's got his axe and that's cool, but nothing else. Because it's still a pretty decent M.O.C without any sort of play feature, but I definitely feel that would have added a whole lot, maybe even some character, because if there's one thing that this M.O.C lacks the most is a good sense of character. Something truly defining, something that can truly set it apart from other Toa of Fire, something to actually give some meaning to the name Corion, or Corion. I'm thinking it's Corion. Corion what? Cory in the house. That said, he still looks like a Toa of Fire, so at the very least that goal was achieved. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to go in depth on. So now let's go ahead and sum up everything I've said into our final scores. Now shall we? In terms of appearance, this M.O.C receives a 3 out of 5. It's a fairly basic design with a good bit of detail, a good color scheme, some awkward looking proportions, but really the biggest problem is just that it lacks character. You know, something to make me feel really interested in the M.O.C design. In terms of the build, this M.O.C receives a 3.5 out of 5. While I do really like the way that these bionicle and Technic elements were used here, making for a nice solid build, there are some problems with articulation that also take part in making the M.O.C look a little off in some areas, like again, the shoulders. And it actually would have been pretty cool to see a play feature or function attached to this M.O.C, but for what we do have, it is a pretty good build that does its job quite well. And in terms of the concept, this MOC receives a 4 out of 5. Because while it could use some improvement here and there, the MOC still stands as a recognizable Toa of Fire. It's what I would expect a Toa of Fire to look like, a standard. However, that is also what brings it down for me, is that it looks like a very standard Toa of Fire with not much to really differentiate it. The color scheme is standard, the aesthetics are fairly standard, and heck, even the mask was used before. So while the builder did make it to achieving his goal, I feel like he could have made a couple of more steps upward into the creativity spectrum. But for now, we are left with a final score that all adds up to a 10.5 out of 15. It is by no means a bad MOC. I think you did a pretty decent job, Zalgo79. However, I do think that there's a lot of untapped potential for this MOC to have a sort of identity. And that'll be up to you to decide how to make that happen, whether you make him bigger and buffer, or you make him smaller and leaner, or you change his color scheme or his mask, or I don't know. But I think that changing even just one of those qualities could make this MOC better, because you certainly have a good start. So congratulations for making it onto the MOC Spotlight. I do hope to see more out of you, and I do hope to see something out of the rest of you viewers. Please, if you haven't considered this already, post your own creations to our message boards at board.ttvchannel.com, where you are more than welcome to post your own MOCs to the LEGO Creations category, where anybody with the potential to be creative have a chance at being featured on the MOC Spotlight, and in general, get the attention that they deserve. So hope to see you there. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.